So what you just heard then was a before and after of a new plugin by Drumforge. It's called DF-XCITE 2. So it's the second version. They had an original one called DF-XCITE, which I think was their very first plugin they made. So I was using Get Good Drums here, and I was on the default and raw kit. The only thing I changed was the snare drum and the kick drum, but all the turbo processing, everything, parallel compression stuff was all turned off. So it was pretty much raw as it can get from a MIDI kit. I had the channels multi-out routed in Reaper. See here with all these different channels. I didn't touch any of the levels or anything like that. They're just what's in Modern and Massive as the default. So basically only using this plugin for that sound. So as you can see there, I've put it on a few different buses, but that's all I've used. No compression, nothing, no EQ, just this plugin. So all of you that watched my previous video on the new plugin by Waves, the Magna Stress, sort of did a similar thing with that video where I used that and pushed it and see what it could do. And this is what I've done with this plugin here. And the same concept applies what I've done for this video. I'm just using it as an exciter and for energy in the mix of whatever instrument I'm using. In this case, I'm using it in drums. You can, of course, use it on other instruments. It's a harmonic saturator with multi-bands. You can use it on bass. You can use it on guitars, vocals. You can see here, I've got a bass. Now with it on. With this preset that I made here, I was trying to get some more attack, so I kind of used it like an EQ. And from what I know about this plugin so far is it's not adding any compression or anything, so it's pretty transparent on what you can do. So here I moved the band, so you can move these crossover points. So I've set one at 300, 1000, 3500, and you can move these around whatever you feel the source needs. And I dropped here because I find that with my bass tones, sometimes with the distortion, when I add a lot through the amp, it can get a bit muddy. So I've just brought that down and left the bass area where I want it. And that grind area, just a little bit of a cut there. Same with the highs, just to bring in that grind sound. So this area where it says bass, so these are different presets of different sources that are in those areas. So if you're new to mixing, you're not sure what areas to adjust and add, you can just use these as a starting point. So for a metal kick, see how it adjusts the bands at the crossover. So 85 to 1500 and 5000. So, you know, that's where your click would be. If you imagine what a kick drum is, you know, all the energy's here and then it dips and then you get that high click sound and you kind of want to balance them depending on the kick sound you want. So these are pretty good starting points, like EDM kicks. It's very similar. And if we change it to like something like the rock snare, you can see there's more here. It's like getting more of that snare at the 200 in that range where it's still there and cutting some of the mids where it might be boxy. Apart from that, the plugin is pretty simple. It has an input where the input that you're feeding it and then the output so you can level match it. Also a bypass and a mix knob. And these bands, you can turn them on and off just by clicking them. That's useful if you wanted to bring out, say, the mids of a guitar. Say I just wanted to use one band. And I could just use this high mid band or low mid band. I've got some guitars here that are pretty distorted and pretty processed anyway, but if I wanted to focus that area and bring out more of the mids, I could do that with this distortion and saturation characteristics here. So you can adjust them to however you like. Say if you go with the presets, heavy guitars, and these are the crossovers they've kind of set where you can tweak them, turn them on and off, however you want to fit. If you want to play around and start from there, or you can just start from default. And the great thing as well is you can actually switch this just to a single band. So if you want the whole thing to be colored the same way, you can just switch it to the single band there. So depending what you've already processed, switching between the different modes will give you different sounds and characteristics. So there's like the tube sound, there's an amp sound, American, vintage, extreme, which is pushing it pretty hard, and tape. For guitars and stuff like that, like, you know, tape's pretty good, and tube, depending how much processing you've already done, it might be too much. So you can go back to a multi-band and maybe you just want to refocus and you kind of tone shape with this plugin, which is really cool. You can also link the distortions here. So if you want to unlink them, and have different characteristics for certain frequencies, which is really helpful because obviously distorting the low end can have a huge different impact with different distortions. So you might want to not bring out so much harshness, and you can change the distortion characteristic. So in the low end, you might want something like tube or something, or, depending on the low end, or maybe tape in the mids somewhere or the higher areas. And if you relink them, you can just go through them as well. And it just switches them across all the different areas. So there's also this button here called lo-fi. So if you engage that, it will sound like a lo-fi effect. And there's a high quality button here, which I believe is just a multi-sampling, making it high quality. And another cool thing as well is you can use it as a little sweetener for your master or mix bus. So let's load it up here and put it on these stems here. I believe there's a preset here by Joel, which would be the master bus source. I think this is what he liked to do on the original version of this Excite plugin. So I'm just going to play without it first. Now with obviously, there's a little bit of volume boost there, but you can see that it did excite the mix. So if you're lacking a little bit of excitement in your mix at the final stages, you can just add, you can see here, this preset is very subtle. It's like 1% drive, 2% in the low mids, 2% in the high mids, and 3% in the high. And you can see the drives up. So it's a very subtle amount. You can see the crossovers here, 120, 2000, and then 8000. And it's on the American mode there as well, which is a really nice saturation mode. I really like this one. So on these drums, you can see I've got that basically the same preset as that mix bus on the drum bus and on the kick drum here. And the snare drum, this is the close mic. Same thing, the preset that's in the plugin using this metal snare. I changed this one to metal snare. I think it was rock snare on the preset. So with that one, you can really hear the bottom mic rattle come out a lot because it's got the two mics there. This is the tom bus. So all the toms going into this one. I reckon this sounds great on the toms. I really like what that's bringing up. I've got that on the tape mode for the toms, and it's just bringing out these nice sounds that you can hear of the toms, making it more full and colorful. Then I put it on a overhead shells bus. On the cymbals. And on the room bus, similar to what I did with the overheads, so without. You see with the rooms here, I put it on the extreme distortion, just to kind of give it like a lot more energy and smack. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.